Hard conversations are uncomfortable, but avoiding them costs trust. Today, we're talking about how to speak the truth with clarity, care, and confidence. For most of my life, I've dreaded hard conversations. Whether it was correcting a team member, navigating conflict, or even having tough conversations at home, I'd overthink everything. I'd imagine every possible scenario, delay the moment, and stress myself out. One of the turning points came when I had to fire an up-and-coming leader. I was torn about it, playing every possible reaction in my head. So I went to another leader I respected and asked, "How do you usually approach these conversations?" He said something I'll never forget. "We're not just letting them go, we're allowing them to do what they're meant to be doing by having this conversation." That reframed everything. Now, whenever I need to lean into a tough conversation, I ask myself, what am I keeping the other person from by not saying this? Avoiding hard conversations isn't kindness, it's avoidance. And if I'm going to steward my team and relationships well, I've got to stop protecting my own comfort and start caring enough to be honest. Avoidance erodes trust. Avoiding a hard conversation might feel like a kinder, safer, or less disruptive option, but in reality, it slowly chips away at trust. When leaders don't address problems directly, clarity gets replaced by confusion, frustration builds under the surface, and people begin to question whether you care enough to confront what matters. The truth is, silence speaks just as loudly as words. And when something needs to be said and isn't, it creates uncertainty that damages morale, accountability, and even results. Before the Challenger space shuttle launched in 1986, engineers from Morton Thiokol, the company responsible for the rocket boosters, raised serious concerns about the O-rings malfunctioning in cold weather. Multiple warnings were issued internally, but decision makers caught between pressure and discomfort avoided the hard conversation. Instead of pushing through the tension and pressing pause, they moved forward, and 73 seconds after launch, the shuttle exploded. So the cost of that avoidance? 7 lives, a massive breach of public trust, and later investigations revealed that key leaders felt uneasy but didn't speak up or listen with enough urgency because no one wanted to disrupt the momentum. It became a tragic case study in what happens when uncomfortable truths go unspoken. Avoiding difficult conversations doesn't prevent conflict. It just delays it, magnifies it, and in some cases, makes it irreversible. Great leaders lean in early. Courageous communication may feel risky, but silence costs far more. So we want curiosity over accusation. When conflict shows up, it's tempting to lead with assumptions or accusations, but great leaders know that defensiveness kills dialogue. Curiosity, on the other hand, creates space for honesty and trust. Instead of saying, "Why did you do that?" try, "Help me understand what happened." When you approach tough conversations with curiosity, you invite clarity without crushing the connection. All right, so a great example of this is from Ted Lasso. One of the most powerful traits that he possesses in leadership is how he handles hard conversations. Whether it's confronting a player about poor performance or addressing betrayal, he leads with humility and curiosity. When Nate betrayed him and left it for a rival team, Ted didn't lash out. He sat with the pain, processed it, and when the time came, he approached Nate not with blame, but with understanding. He asked questions, acknowledged hurt, and created space for reconciliation. That level of emotional maturity transformed not just the relationship, but the team culture. Framing a tough conversation with "this is the story I'm telling myself" instead of "you did this to me" changes the tone entirely. Curiosity builds bridges where accusation builds walls. Conflict plus clarity builds trust. One of the biggest myths about leadership is that avoiding conflict protects relationships. In reality, it erodes them. When you fail to address issues head on, people are left to fill in the blanks, and silence creates confusion. What builds real trust isn't avoiding conflict, it's handling it with clarity and compassion. When people know where they stand and what's expected of them, even hard feedback becomes a gift. The right kind of clarity doesn't push people away, it pulls them in. When Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft in 2014, he inherited a culture known for internal rivalry, silos, and passive-aggressive communication. Innovation had slowed, morale was low, and teams were more focused on protecting turf than pursuing progress. Nadella didn't fix that with flashy speeches or superficial morale boosters. He got honest. In his first company-wide email, he called for a culture shift, one rooted in accountability, empathy, and clarity. He championed feedback, challenged leaders to move from know-it-alls to learn-it-alls, and opened the door to conversations about what wasn't working. This direct yet human approach helped rebuild trust across Microsoft ranks. Over time, the culture shifted, and so did the results. Microsoft became one of the most valuable companies in the world again. People don't leave because you're honest. They leave because they feel unseen or unheard. Honest, clear communication, especially in conflict, signals that you care enough to face hard things with them, not around them. That's what earns trust. So here's how we can take what I just talked about and make this practical. So it's the framework I call C.A.L.M. C stands for clarify the concern. Before you enter the conversation, get crystal clear on what the actual issue is, not just how you feel about it. Is it a repeated behavior, a missed expectation, a misunderstanding? Write it down in 1 or 2 sentences. This helps remove emotional fog and keeps the conversation focused. So here's a pro tip for you. Avoid saying things like you always or you never, because clarity is about specifics, not generalizations. A stands for approach with empathy. Step into the conversation with humility, not hostility. Your goal isn't to attack, it's to understand and align. Use language that softens the approach while trying to be honest. Try, here's what I'm seeing and how it's impacting the team. Or this is the story I'm telling myself. This signals that you're for them, not against them. And that changes the tone from defensiveness to dialogue. L stands for listen to learn. Don't just brace for their response, lean into it. Ask thoughtful, open-ended questions and let them share their perspective without interruption. When you truly listen, you'll uncover root issues that weren't obvious at first. Stress, confusion, personal challenges, or something else. Listening also builds trust by showing that you care more about understanding than just being right. And M stands for move towards resolution. Once both perspectives are on the table, don't leave the conversation open-ended. Clarify the path forward. What needs to change? What support do they need? And what does accountability look like from here? Align on what success looks like and make a plan to check in. Ownership and clarity are what turn tough talks into growth moments. So what conversation have you been avoiding? Write it out, run through the C.A.L.M method, and take the first step towards clarity. It might be uncomfortable, but it might also be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Also, I want to hear from you guys. What is a conversation you guys have been avoiding for a couple weeks? And write down in the comments below. Maybe even include some practical steps that you can take this next week that you can use for that breakthrough. Hard conversations don't ruin relationships. They strengthen them when handled well. And if this helped you, hit that like and subscribe button, and then share it with someone who needs to hear this. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.